everybody, and how are you? I hope you have had a fantastic week since the last time we have seen each other. If you are new to my channel, my name is Lisa, and this is The Search. I focus on missing people and unsolved cases. Every once in a while, I throw in something a little different, but most of all, unsolved cases is what my main focus is. One thing I want to let you know is every Thursday I upload at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So that way you know when to expect a new episode. This is our second season, and this is actually the second episode of the second season. So if you are new, please take time to go back, look through the season, the first, and see if there's something there that you would be interested in. Leave a comment, let me know, and please don't forget to subscribe. When you are looking in the first season, you are going to see some of the searches wrote in yellow and some wrote in red. If they're wrote in yellow, that means that the case is focused on a missing person. If it is wrote in red, you are focusing on more of a murder case that has gone unsolved. So hopefully that will help you decipher maybe something that you are more interested in. And I hope that you enjoy what you are watching, and welcome. Let's get into today. It is going to definitely be something different that we have not done yet. And boy, have I found a doozy. All right. So let's get started in it. I can't wait to hear the comments afterwards. And wow, we are talking today about John Darwin. Now, first, I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory, where he's from, where he lived, come from, stuff like that, and then we'll get into it. He was born in 1950 and was in England. Okay, so he's from England. Later in the story, we'll get kind of more precise exactly where at. He was a former teacher and a prison officer, oddly enough, and you'll see why. John Darwin was born around, like I said, 1950, and he attended St. Francis Xavier's Grammar School and Hartlepool and De La Salle College in Salford, Lancashire, where he studied biology and chemistry. He had some education. Smart guy. I know chemistry. If you're majoring in chemistry and biology, you definitely put in a little extra work, you must say. On December 22nd, 1973, Darwin married Anne Stevenson in Black Hale. Darwin then taught science and mathematics in Durham for 18 years before leaving to join Barclays Bank. So he was a teacher for a long time. He later became a prison officer at the HM Prison Homes House. Darwin and his wife, a doctor's receptionist, also ran a business renting bedsits in the county of Durham with 12 houses. So that's like what they did. They ran into debt after purchasing 2 houses in Seaton, Carew in December of 2000. The debts caused Darwin to really just not do well mentally. He wasn't taking it very well. He was like, how are we going to get out of this? What are we going to do? Although he was a smart man and he had education, but when they got into some of this investing, it backfired a little bit, and he really wasn't sure what he was gonna do. It was almost like he was just embarrassed. It was his ego. He did not want to reach out. He did not want people to know. It started really playing with his head. He was having thoughts that just were not quite what they should have been. Sometimes I think when you get under that financial stress, you start thinking different. You start getting desperate. I feel in this situation, that's where we're at right now. At that time, decides that he's going to go paddling in his canoe. He's going to go out. That's what he liked to do. That day was seen paddling out to the sea. This was on March 21st, 2002 at Seaton, Carew. Later, the same day, he was reported as missing. After he was reported as missing, after failing to report to work, so he didn't go to work, nobody's seen him. A large scale of sea search took place. They were out there like scoping out everywhere around the area. This was not normal for him. He was an avid kayaker. He did things like this, and especially not showing up. This just was not the norm, and they knew something was wrong. The family, he had sons, knew something was wrong. Search took place, during which 62 square miles of the coastline was searched. All right, that's a lot. There was no signs of Darwin. There was no signs of him. Unfortunately, they were starting to think the worst because there was no sightings of anything. So, being there was no signs, the following day, a double ended paddle and the wreckage of John's kayak was found. The North Sea was unusually calm, though. Rescuers were puzzled that John could have gotten to like so much trouble as far as the conditions. When boats go missing and people go missing in kayaks, first thing they're looking at is the weather. Like, should they have been out there? Was it extreme? But it wasn't. It was a calm day. He could swim. This wasn't something he did out of the usual. So why did this happen? Was there a hole in the boat? Was he so far out and flipped out and just could not swim to shore? Maybe he ran out of breath, or just energy. Like, what went wrong? The kayak was found. The North Sea was unusually calm, as I just said to you. Puzzled everybody. I'm going to move a little forward. During the year that John was presumed dead, meaning they found the kayak, they found his stuff, and unfortunately, after a certain amount of time through the years, he was presumed dead. After time goes by, there's no reason to believe that he's still alive. And his wife, in 2003 of February, had death certificate that was issued stating that Darwin had died on the 21st of March 2002. This allowed the wife to claim his life insurance and alleged that $250,000 was paid out of the Unit Direct Insurance Management Limited, part of the AIG insurance group. Sometime that year, a tenant of the block bedsit flats, which is, remember, where they had invested at, so they knew people there, the ones that he invested and things went south and all that, that's what I'm talking about. Anyway, Lee Waldrop recognizes somebody that looks like Darwin, and he asked him, "Aren't you supposed to be dead?" To which Darwin replied, "Don't tell anyone about this." Waldrop later said he had not told the police because he did not want to get involved. Okay, so this is the beginning, guys. So what I want to tell you is, I gave you a little background about him, what his education was, where he worked at, where he met Anne, and how they fell into debt and having issues. So, basically, as our story begins, he decides that he's going to fake his own death. He goes out, like I said earlier, on the canoe. I didn't want to give it away right at the beginning. He goes out on his canoe, goes out on a calm day, okay, and he disappears. The wife, of course, knows about this, right? This is all planned. And, of course, claims that she wasn't really about all this. Remember, they have sons also. He made it look like he was in a canoeing accident and had passed away during an unfortunate accident. Let's move forward now of what life looks like after he has faked his death. During the years that Darwin was presumed dead, he lived for some time in the bedsit next door to the family home, guys. He then secretly moved back in with his wife Anne in February of '03. Meanwhile, a death certificate was issued stating that, like I told you earlier, that Darwin had died on the 21st of March in '02. This allowed the wife to get the $250,000 that was paid, like I said, from the AIG group. Now, sometime after that, that is when their own tenant recognized and he told them, don't say anything, and he didn't. In 2004, the Darwins decided to move abroad. John Darwin applied for and obtained a passport using the false name John Jones. Yes, John Jones. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about how he came up with John Jones. He actually went out in a cemetery, guys. Went out in a cemetery, looked around, and actually found a young child. I want to say even maybe an infant. I'm not even exactly sure, but I know it's a young child. And found named that way. But using his true home address. In November 2004, the couple visited Cyprus to investigate buying property there. In May of 2005, at Angler, Matt Auntie claimed to have met Darwin, who was going under the name John Williams, at a lake near Penzance, Cornwall. When back at home, Darwin is reported to have spent most of the time on the internet, where he encountered a woman from Kansas whom he flew out to meet. By November, Darwin was back in the UK and flew from Newcastle to Gibraltar, and then traveled from El Puerto de Santa Maria to view a 45,000 pound 42-foot catamaran. He said that he was considering buying a boat from the dealer Robert Hopkins. On the 9th of March 2006, Darwin is reported to have signed a planning objection to the neighbor's building work using a false name. Darwin and his wife began to consider Panama as a possible destination. On the 14th of July 2006, they took a photograph or something, I should say. They just took a photograph with one of the Panamanian, property agents. It's kind of like, oh, congratulations, pop the champagne, sometimes, but took a picture with him. And that picture resulting was posted on the internet. Newspapers from 2007 were later found in the boarded up gap between Darwin's house and the bedsit where John had hid. In March of 2007, the couple returned to Panama and formed a company called Jaguar Properties in order to buy a 2-bedroom apartment in El Dorado. It was I think 50,000 pounds for them. The bedsit house next to the family home was sold under the name of the Darwin son, Mark. The home had been transferred to Mark's in 2006. The proceeds from the sale were to transfer to Panama. Is this getting crazy? The following month, Anne returned to the UK to sell her home, while Darwin remained in Panama. In May of 2007, the couple purchased a 200,000 pound tropical estate in the village of Escobal, Colon, in Panama near the Panama Canal, with the intentions of building a hotel. It was gonna be like this canoeing resort area. All right, it's a doozy. In later interview with Darwin, published in Elizabeth Greenwood's book Playing Dead, he states that the canoe rental aspect of this story was entirely fabricated by the media, playing on the romanticism of the fake death. He and Anne visited Panama again in July 7th, staying 6 weeks. Yes, there's a book written about it. That's one of the parts I brought up. But my point is, he's claiming all that was fabricated. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that's where he was looking allegedly to stay and, kind of make it a way to bring in income. But allegedly, that's not true. All right, guys, so here we go. A police investigation was started in September when a colleague of Anne's became suspicious upon overhearing a phone conversation between the couple. The Darwin family home was sold for $295,000 in October of 2007, and Anne subsequently left for Panama. In the third week of November, the couple holidayed in Costa Rica. Before returning to Panama on 30th November 2007, Anne bought an airline ticket for her husband to England because he was missing his sons. On the same day, Mark left his property firm after working his notice period. Following a change in Panama's visa laws, Darn emailed Anne on June 14th, still in '07, and to notify her that the identities would have to be verified by the UK police in order for them to receive required Panamanian investors visas, knowing that his John Jones alias would not pass the level of scrutiny. He decided to return to the UK. Listen. So now he decides, all right, I'm stuck here. I'm missing my son. Let me just go back. I'm missing them. I want to go back. I can't pass anything. They've upped the laws, changed things. So Darwin decides, well, I'm going to return to the UK under my real name, and I'm going to fake amnesia. Buckle up, guys. Are you serious? Are you serious? He really thought that this was going to fly. Well, let's see how it flies, guys. On December 1st, 2007, Darn walks into the West End Central Police Station in London. He claiming to have no memory of the past 5 years and expressed this surprise like, where have you been? Anyway. Anne expressed surprise, joy, and elation in that the return of her missing husband. The UK police by that time had already suspected Darwin. Alright? That might not have been dead since Anne, despite portraying herself as a broken-hearted widow, took foreign holidays, planned to sell the family home in Hartlepool, to move to Panama and transfer large sums of money abroad. A police financial investigation had already begun 3 months to Darwin's reappearance, following a tip from one of Anne's colleagues connecting her claim of her husband's life insurance and her subsequent immigration to Panama. Darwin's cover story started to unravel because remember when I talked about that when he was down there looking at the property down there in Panama, and he took pictures with the guy that was basically the representative of the properties down there ended up on the internet. The Daily Mirror actually had published the photos of the Darwins taken in Panama back in '06. The photograph had been discovered when a member of the public searched for the words John and Panama. So they looked John, like Googled it, John and Panama, not and, or his wife, in Google Images. The photo had been featured on the website movetopanama.com. Wasn't that nice for them to be the cover face of A Glorious Life Down in Panama? The photo had been featured on the website and was brought to the attention of the Daily Mirror and the Cleveland police, and reportedly confirmed that the photograph was of John saying, "Yes, that's him. My sons will never forgive me." The police then arrest Darwin and his son Anthony's house in Basingstoke. Before I go any further, at the very beginning, a little recap. Like I said, he realizes he has all this debt. The only thing basically he feels he can do is fake his death. Yes, he had talked to Anne about it and was not comfortable with it, but she went along with it. So basically, he went in the water with the canoe and then got out, and Anne picked him up. You'll see within the pictures and stuff what the properties look like. And he actually hid out within them for a while, like I talked about. Can you imagine the kids believing that their dad is gone? Your mom is a part of it too. He lived within secret areas of this house for so long, but then knew that he needed to kind of get out of there, and then thought, I miss my child and I'm just going to come back and fake amnesia. This is so not rational thinking at all. In his mind, he thought nobody looked like he thought he had committed the perfect crime. He had definitely gotten too comfortable and very, I would say, to think he could pull over the whole amnesia thing. No, I don't think so. Let's now move forward. Imagine what the kids are thinking, guys. Imagine. A police investigation discovered that Darwin had been using a false passport by the name of John Jones. And by the way, he chose the same name John because one, he said he didn't want to mess up. If somebody said John, he naturally would turn. I think that was not good too. And the identity that belonged to, like I said, to a baby who had died in 1950. See, that was the year he was born. So he was trying to kind of get the same name, same birthday. These were things that he was doing so that, like, it would be hard to remember. Come on, right? Upon examining the false passport, police found that Darwin had made several trips to Panama, as we talked about, in the previous 5 years. Darwin's two sons initially expressed the elation at the return of their father, but as the story unfolds, they issued a joint statement stating they felt they had been victims of a scam, and implying that they wish to have no further contact with their parents. I don't blame them. All the personal conversations you have, morning with your mom, all the people that came over, all the things that went on. I mean, this is very psychological. This isn't just he faked a death and moved. Not good at all. They're going to charge him. I mean, he's not going to get away with this. Think about the money involved. Let's just talk about what's going to happen with charges. So Darwin was charged with insurance fraud, making false statements to obtain a passport, and Darwin, his wife, of course, was arrested at Manchester Airport. Because, you know what? She's involved in charge too. The following day, upon returning to the UK and detained in connection with the allegations of fraud, she appeared in court on December 11th in Hartlepool to face two charges of fraud, obtaining £25,000 and £137,000 by deception. She remained in custody because remember, she got insurance policies. Remember, she had him claimed dead so that she could collect the insurance policies. She remained in custody until 14th of December. John Darwin appeared at Hartlepool Magistrates Court on December 10th, where he was also reprimanded in custody until the 14th of December. On the 14th of December, Anne and John Darwin appear separately before the Hartlepool Magistrates Court, and they both were reprimanded in custody to appear again on January 11th, 08. So on the 9th of January in 08, John and Anne returned to the Hartlepool Magistrates Court to face further charges of deception. John faced an additional charge of obtaining £137,000 by deception, the same charge his wife was already facing. In addition to the existing life insurance charge against both of them for £25,000 and John's separate charge of obtaining a passport by deception. They were then both charged together by obtaining more money from a teacher's pension scheme. Two separate amounts. One was 26,000 pounds. The other one was 58,845,000, as well for obtaining money from the Department of Work and Pensions. Two separate amounts of 2,000 pounds and 2,273 pounds. They were reprimanded in custody once more to appear in court again on the 18th of January. On the 18th of January, they each appeared separately in Hartlepool Magistrate Court by video link and were reprimanded in custody until the 15th of February, when they faced committal to Crown Court. On the 13th of March, guys, John Darwin admitted to 7 charges of obtaining cash by deception in a passport offense at Leeds Crown Court. He denied 9 charges of using criminal property. These charges were ordered to lie on file. And Darwin denied 6 charges of deception and 9 of using criminal property. Well, let me talk about the sentencing of what this does. You cannot fake your death, claim your pensions, claim your life insurance, make fake passports, go to other countries, purchase properties, and then just think that you're going to come back and, oh, you deceived your family, your children. I mean it. Ugh. On July 23rd of 2008, John and Anne Darwin were both convicted of fraud. John faced an additional charge relating to his fake passport and was sentenced to 6 years and 3 months in prison. Anne Darwin, who was described by the police as a compulsive liar, was sentenced to 6 years and 6 months. So John got 6 years and 3 months. Anne got 6 years and 6 months. So she got 3 extra months, guys. But he faked his death and did all this. Both appealed against their sentences, though. And on the 27th of March in 2009, both appeals were dismissed by the Court of Appeal and was imprisoned at HM Prison, Low Newton. The Crown Prosecution Services said that all profits from the callous and calculated fraud committed by the couple would be confiscated. John was to release on probation in January of 2011, and Anne would be released in March of 2011. On lovely Valentine's Day, January 14th, 2012, the CPS announced that the entire 501,641 and 39 cents in life insurance and pension payouts received by Anne and John had been recovered partly from the sale of two properties in the Panama Kingsley Highland, head of Northeast CPS Complex Casework Unit, said. It is important that fraudsters, that's a word, fraudsters, see that not only will they be prosecute them wherever possible, but we will also make every effort to retrieve their ill-gotten gains to return them to those they defrauded. In April of 2014, it was reported that John had repaid £121 from the £679,000 and some change that was supposed to go back. He'd only done £121. That's it. That the judge had ordered him to repay. However, this was because all the assets were in Anne's name. Because remember, once he died, everything went over. Everything, she was the investor, so she held a lot of the deeds and everything to sell and whatever, the assets. Because of that, Anne Dolan, by July, I think, of 2015, the pair no longer had assets, having repaid a total of $541,762 out of the total $679,000. So basically, they were still about £100,000 short. All of that was basically paid from Anne, pretty much. Anne took care of that. So I want to talk about now, after things have been paid on, where are they now? Did the family rekindle? How did they come back from this? Anne and John ended up getting divorced. They are no longer together. Now they've done the prison, they've got out, Anne's pretty much taking care of most of the debt. There's still some debt left. So where are they now? Following the prison stint, whole stint doing everything, Anne decided to separate from John. Yeah, I can see it. She actually spoke to a newspaper, I guess The Guardian, about her life with him. And now she realized that some of his behavior towards her was unacceptable. Some might say, kind of coerced. I hadn't realized, she said, how much John manipulated me until I was in prison. I had to see a psychologist to finally help me see things in a different light, she said. Until then, I had always had his voice in my head. Finally, when it faded away, I could then make decisions for myself. And I realized that I didn't have to depend on him. I could cope with it on my own. Anne's last communication with John while they were in prison, where she finally plucked up the courage to end things. John didn't take it well. When she left prison in 2011, John was reported to have sent Anne a photograph of herself which had a copyright brand on it, seemingly implying she was his property. The pair eventually divorced, with John citing unreasonable behavior. She found a job with the RSPCA using the qualifications she had gained in prison to move the village outside of York, according to Yorkshire Live, and also wrote a book about her experience. And her book, guys, is called Out of My Depth, with proceeds actually going to the RNLI and the RSPCA. Speaking on this, the morning of 2016, Anne said, I came through that depression in prison. With the help that I've managed to turn my life around, I made the best of the opportunity that I could with all what I offered in prison. As far as education, I equipped myself up to date qualifications so I could find a job and give myself the best chance to a new life. Anne has since reconciled with her sons. Because remember, guys, the sons were done. When they were doing trial going on, the sons were done. So she's reconciled with them. In March of 2022, placed Anne in a village outside of Middlesbrough, and when asked about the thief, his wife's, and the canoe intimate release, Anne said she had nothing to say. So you're saying, what are you talking about, Lisa? There is an actual movie made about this, and it is called The Thief, His Wife, and the Canoes. Now, where is John? John, who's now 73, struck up a romance on live and his second wife, Mercy May, 48, in 2015. So a 48-year-old woman. He now lives in the Philippines with her. Mercy sublets a clothes stall in Manila, among other fashion ventures. The pair also sublet the property next door to their new home, according to newspapers. It's currently unknown whether he does or not. Speaks to his sons and said to The Guardian in 2016, that's a private matter for them. So, guys, you can find The Thief, His Wife, and the Canoe. It continues on ITV with all episodes available to stream. Check out the Drama Hub for more news, interviews, features, and finds. So you can look that up. We work so hard, and I'm glad that he served some time as well as her, because how much time do we put in and money to search and try to find people? His sons, what they went through trying to find their father, the taxpayers' money, the efforts that could be going on someone else missing just because he made some bad financial decisions. He wanted to fake his death, collect his insurance money, and then go down, invest it, do other things. I don't know, come back then in 5 years, claim he had amnesia. The audacity that he thought he could come back to his area for a while and just hide out in his house, and like you'll see like the hidden rooms and stuff, his kids were around and did this unbelievable get an Oscar, Anne, because I can't believe how you put it on to your kids like this. And the attention, she's the one that had to deal with talking to everybody, making all the arrangements, doing everything. She had to put that act on, not him, because as soon as he came back and thought he was going to fake amnesia, that went out the window. There was a couple things also that I didn't get into. It was a lot of dates involved, very, back and forth. So I kind of had to make sure that I got those correct for you. But like, remember I talked about how he actually talked with a woman online, said nothing was at all romantic, that lived in Kansas. I mean, he flew there trying to make some financial deals there. He had her put up some money, and in return, he never returned the money. So, see, there was constant going on. All he was thinking was making money. He had no remorse for what things he was doing. And now I think now he's married another woman that is almost half his age. And she has her own business. She does her thing. He lives over in the Philippines. We do so much on missing and murder. Is there cases out there where people have faked and we didn't know? I don't think I've done any cases right now that people have faked it and we just don't know yet. But how many are out there like this? And I think it just really burns me up because there's so many that need the attention, and because of stupidity like this, they're not getting it. So I just thought I would do a little bit different tonight and just kind of give you a little cray cray, a little wildness. Now, the next time somebody goes missing on a canoe, I'm sure for a little bit there, people would get kind of a little bit, all right, let's check his financial records. Let's do this. Why wouldn't they? I think from the very beginning when he went missing and the waters were calm, I think the detectives were kind of like, this is weird, but when you can't prove anything at the time, the canoe showed up, everything showed up but him. He did manage to stay pretty hidden. I feel that the tenant that seen him, unfortunately, should have come forward and didn't for his obvious reasons. And if somebody is willing to fake their own death, I mean, that he would probably go to all limits to protect himself too. But still, if you know something, there's anonymous tips. I want to know what you guys thought about this case tonight. What did you think? This was a little different to find out it was all fake. It was all, and he traveled back and forth. He used John Jones out of the cemetery. He manipulated others. The one thing that I can say is I feel like Anne has learned from this as much as she can. I think that she is trying to make a positive difference now that she's out. What do we think about Anne serving more time? Do we think that that was fair, or should have been equal on both? And took responsibility also in paying. See, John didn't even take responsibility with that. So I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed a little different twist tonight. If you want to dig deeper into this story, one thing you can do is actually go to the actual screenwriter. Chris Lang actually did this, and it's called The Thief, His Wife, and the Canoe. Watch that and learn maybe, a little bit more. Can't imagine a greater betrayal than a mom telling you your dad is dead when she knows is actually still alive, pretending to be grieving for 5 years, allowing them to grieve for 5 years. What would possible mother do that? It seems unthinkable. These are some quotes from people that were involved in the series to look into it. Very interesting. I hope you enjoyed tonight, guys. There is no ribbon. I usually do a ribbon at the end for all of our victims and find justice. There is no victim in this. People that simply lied to deceive, to get out of debt. So guys, please leave your comments up. I want to hear questions. I want to know your opinion. And if you like stories like this, let me know. And we can do some more if this is what you like. But until next time, guys, please make sure to share this out, hit the like button, and subscribe. Let me know what you think, and I will see you again on the next search. Good night, everybody.